Uh-oh.
Okay, we'll start with this. The latest from unified super bantamweight champion Ellie Scotney, who took to her social media and said, "As you might have seen, my world title defense on October 26th has been postponed due to an injury. I picked up in the thick of camp. Frustrating time it's been, but working with my team to get a new date rescheduled as soon as possible. Soon to be back at it, ready to show why I'm the number one in the super bantamweight division." She has to satisfy her IBF mandatory challenger, Motu, who was in action not that long ago. In lieu of the postponement, she took a short notice fight, a stay busy fight with veteran fighter Shannon O'Connell, and Mia got busy.
Forced to stoppage after, what was it, 4 rounds?
Good advertisement for what Motu is all about and how she likes to go about fighting a fight. A good advertisement for what she means to do to Ellie Scotney when the time comes for Ellie's WBO and IBF titles. Because Ellie's not big on power, and Mia is, how will Ellie deal with this fighter, with this fighter's aggression, come forward approach, with movement, with defense, with sharpshooting?
I'm confident that Ellie Scotney wins the fight in spite of the injury and the postponement. I'm confident she wins, but that doesn't mean it's going to be easy. That just means I think she can do it.
She can win. She will. The Mia Motu fight is good preparation for a potential Nazarena Romero fight down the line. Nazarena Romero, newly crowned WBA champion.
It's a good prelude.
Segue. Mia Motu is a come-forward combination puncher. So is Nazarena Romero. Punch for punch, I do think Nazarena punches harder. She's a bit younger than Mia, though, all the same. One is good preparation for the other. And I feel like if Ellie takes care of business with Mia, who they'll target afterwards is Nazarena.
Why?
There are 3 champions at this weight. Ellie Scotney is one. Nazarena Romero is another. And Mexico's own Jamie Mercado is yet another. Of the 3 champions, Jamie's been a champion longer than the other 2.
He's more experienced than the other 2. More fights, more rounds in the bank.
For Matchroom, I think the more expensive alternative. That if Ellie Scotney beats Mia, and they try to get Ellie a unification match afterwards, the Mercado fight will cost them more money than the Romero fight, the Nazarena Romero fight. So with that in mind, they might go after Nazarena next, after the Mia Motu fight. And as stated, Mia Motu is good preparation for a Nazarena Romero fight.
Because they're of a similar mindset, similar methodology.
We still don't know the nature of the postponement, that is, the nature of Ellie's injury. Is it a hand injury, a foot injury, back?
Wasn't reported, it wasn't divulged. Seems like they're being deliberately cloak and dagger with the injury. Perhaps that's for the best. Don't give me a Motu something to target.
Feels that way because usually they tell you what happened. You know, they told you when Josh Taylor had plantar fasciitis. They told you when Artur Beterbiev had a botched root canal.
Tyson Fury's cut that he suffered in sparring. They usually tell you what's the nature of the problem, but with Ellie, they never said what was injured.
Not specifically. I feel like this is where things get serious for Ellie. She's really only 2 to 3 fights away from becoming this division's undisputed champion. That's her goal.
Future.
If she achieves it, she would likely move up afterwards and move up into a densely packed, a densely populated, talent-rich featherweight division with so much going on and so many good fighters.
Too far into the future, man. She's got to beat Mia first.
Quite right.
before it becomes about moving up in weight, before it becomes about yay me or Nazarena. She's got to beat Mia first. We'll see when they reschedule the fight. Elsewhere in the world of boxing, Ryan Garcia has vandalism charge from hotel incident dismissed.
This is what he was talking about on his social media when he tweeted, "Case dismissed."
Since many people thought it was in relation to the Devin Haney case, that lawsuit, it's not. The vandalism charge against boxing star Ryan Garcia was dismissed Tuesday in connection with a June incident at the Waldorf Astoria in Beverly Hills. Garcia's attorney, Michael A. Goldstein, told ESPN. Garcia, 26, faced the misdemeanor charge after he caused an estimated $15,000 worth of damage at the Posh property. As stated back in July, we expected a favorable resolution of this matter and always viewed this through the lens of a civil case, Goldstein said. This incident occurred a day after Mr. Garcia learned of his mother's significant health issues and was under a tremendous amount of stress. According to Goldstein, Garcia reimbursed the Waldorf Astoria the approximately $15,000 for the cost of damage immediately, and the hotel did not wish to pursue the matter. He destroyed property that was ultimately paid for, added Goldstein. We appreciate the professionalism of the Beverly Hills Police Department, the Waldorf Astoria, and the court for granting our motion to dismiss the charges. Mr. Garcia continues to work on his own health as he prepares to get back in the ring. Garcia was suspended 1 year by the New York State Athletic Commission in May after he tested positive for the banned substance Osterin in the lead-up to his majority decision win over Devin Haney in April in a major upset. The result, Garcia floored Haney 3 times, was overturned to a no contest. Garcia is eligible to return next April. Garcia is also facing a lawsuit filed by Haney last month in connection with a positive PED test. As it pertains to that, Bill Haney, the father of Devin Haney, took to his social media yesterday and said, "We don't duck fights or lawsuits. Ryan Garcia, you've got 48 hours to enroll in VADA for the rematch. Clean competition, real standards, we're always ready. Are you?" Devin Haney stays focused. Lawsuit or not, hashtag no excuses, real champions, VADA, rematch.
So what, are they working on the rematch already?
Bear in mind that Bill said this yesterday, so it's less than 48 hours now.
I don't understand.
So here's what I think. I think this entire lawsuit against Ryan was just a leverage play to achieve favorable terms in a rematch. I think, behind the scenes, the two teams might have communicated with each other, and the Haneys would agree to call the lawsuit off on the premise that Ryan would start anti-doping testing now.
That's why I think he's talking about a 48-hour deadline.
This hypothetical agreement they would have reached will be null and void in 48 hours if Ryan doesn't start anti-doping testing now.
Less than 48 hours now.
Now, you may be thinking to yourself, if Ryan can't come back until April of next year, why would they want him to start the anti-doping testing now? And it's because, some speculate, that fighters use banned substances in the quote-unquote off-season, in between fights when they don't have a fight signed and when there's no randomized testing.
In reality, there is no off-season in boxing, but if there were one, it's the period in between one fight and the next, and it's widely speculated that that's when fighters are using these performance-enhancing drugs.
Because before a fight is signed and before a fight camp starts, that's also before the anti-doping agency is contracted, before they start their testing. Maybe thinking to yourself, well, what about the clean boxing program? Don't they provide anti-doping testing year-round?
No.
And even if they did, Ryan Garcia has been expelled from the World Boxing Council's ranked standings, and he's not subject to whatever they want anyway. So if you're the Haneys, you're going to want the anti-doping testing to start as soon as possible to ensure that in the quote-unquote off-season, Ryan isn't on something, receiving the benefit of that once the fight camp officially starts.
Because once the fight camp starts, he will have cycled off already. Whatever he took, it won't be detectable.
That's what I'm thinking. Because why would Bill Haney be giving Ryan Garcia an ultimatum? Why would Bill Haney be giving Ryan Garcia 48 hours to start anti-doping testing. Anti-doping testing for what?
A rematch. He said it. It's for the rematch.
Now, we're in October. That still leaves November, December, January, February, March.
6 months.
Ryan is not eligible to return until April. Team Haney are trying to ensure that in the next 6 months, Ryan isn't on something, cycling on, then cycling off, undetected. That's what I think this could be.
Now, will Devin Haney have a fight in between now and next April? Really don't know, but I think that he should.
That would give him an edge over Ryan Garcia. If they fight sometime in April or May, Ryan will not have fought in a year's time. Whereas Devin, if he squeezes in a fight in between now and April,
He won't have any ring rust. Ryan might, but he won't if he squeezes in a fight.
now we know Devin's not going to be fighting Liam Paro for Liam Paro's IBF title. We talked about that in my previous video and how, in so many words, Liam said Devin priced himself out. Devin just needs a stay busy fight, just a little maintenance fight. Nothing too risky.
Nothing dangerous.
Just something to get him back out there, get him some rounds, and sharpen him up for a Ryan Garcia rematch.
Ryan Garcia himself made mention of a rematch on his social media just the other day. So it's possible that behind the scenes, those conversations are happening. And I said it before, I'll say it again. A rematch might do bigger business than the first fight because of the controversy. You don't leave that much money on the table. Not in this sport.
Seem I was right to assume that a rematch would happen. I was confident that a rematch would happen because of how much money both teams stand to make. They may hate each other,
And they can keep hating each other, but they can make money from that hate simultaneously.
Finally, in men's light heavyweight news, ahead of this weekend's mega match, the winner is a generational great. Eddie Hearn discusses the Beterbiev versus Bivol fight and the implications for the winner, whoever the winner is. I see an influx of individuals as the fight date fast approaches, going with Artur Beterbiev to do to Dimitri what he's done to everybody else. I can't blame them.
I don't.
Eddie Hearn said, "This is the fight that makes you a generational great. Beterbiev and Bivol will go down as pound-for-pound great fighters, but this win is what makes you a generational great."
I agree.
This fight has been discussed so many times over the years as these two champions circled each other, reigning parallel to one another, though having not fought. It's really not hard to imagine what an Artur Beterbiev victory might look like. It's not hard to imagine what would get him there. His volume, his power, his pressure. It's not hard to imagine. It's harder to imagine what would win Dimitri the fight. How does Dimitri win the fight? How does he stand up to this guy's power?
Well, that's the thing. It's not standing up to it so much as working around it and interrupting it. Interrupting him. Interrupting Artur.
I've said it many times that I think Dimitri, at this point, he's faster on his feet with faster hands than Artur. And even though he doesn't punch anywhere near as hard as Artur, if he can interrupt him in between the punches and catch him in between the punches while not getting hit himself.
That's important.
If anybody's going to be able to work around Artur's pressure and offset his volume, it's going to be Dimitri, because he is the most defensively sound light heavyweight in the world and one of the most defensively sound boxers in the world, one of the most well-schooled. To take something off of Artur's punches with his movement, get around them all together and counter.
So as Artur Beterbiev is inching forward, trying to close the gap on Dimitri.
Managing the distance is the trick, and they're both pretty good at that in their own way. I mean, Artur's fantastic at closing the distance, where Dimitri is fantastic at keeping distance.
Keeping space and managing the real estate.
As Artur Beterbiev is stepping into his jab, inching closer, I don't imagine Dimitri's just going to retreat, just circle away. I imagine he's going to step into his own punches, step into his own shots, put two together, then get out.
Catch and counter.
I feel like counter-punching is pivotal for Dmitry. He cannot hope to overpower Artur Beterbiev. He cannot hope to get into a gunfight and get into exchanges with this guy. He's got to catch him in between the punches. Catch and counter. Catch and shoot! Counter punching has an effect to where even if you're not that hard a puncher, even if you're not that strong, because you're catching a guy with a punch when he don't expect it, it amplifies the damage. And if that happens often enough, that can get a really aggressive guy to hesitate, settle down.
It can.
Because I think Dmitry's the fresher, faster fighter of the two, I anticipate he'll be able to beat Artur to the punch. It's no easy task. He's gonna have to be perfect.
There's no room for mistakes.
And he's gonna have to be durable enough, tough enough to endure whatever gets in, because it's a 36-minute fight. 36 minutes with Artur Beterbiev?
Something's gonna get in.
Has to endure, but that's the ticket. That's the trick. Movement and counterpunching. Don't run from him. That didn't work for Marcus Brown. It won't work for you. You have to meet him and pick your spots, pick your shots, pick your moments, then get out of the way before he can counter.
Move!
Activity is key too. You can't just hang back throwing 1 and 2 punches at a time at this guy. That is not going to be enough to keep him off of you, and that's not going to get his respect. I reiterate, that didn't work for Marcus Brown. It's not going to work for Dmitry. Believe it or not, you got to let your hands go, but it's how you do it.
Stepping in, putting 1 and 2 punches together, getting out, then getting back in and doing it again.
And again. The frequency of punches, it's got to be up there to shake this guy and get him off of you. Back him off!
You gotta throw.
It took Artur Beterbiev 7 rounds to stop Callum Smith, 8 to stop Anthony Yard, 10 to stop Marcus Brown. And these guys don't box on the level of a Dmitry Bivol. They don't.
They are not as defensively sound.
So I am going with Dmitry Bivol. Tenuously, I'm going with Dmitry Bivol off movement, speed, and counter-punching. I know I could be wrong. I've been wrong before, but that's who I'm going with, and that's what keeps things interesting. Not being a little bitch. Not being wishy-washy.
Riding the fence like a little pussy.
Not doing that. I'm going with Dmitry Bivol tenuously by way of a points decision. Artur Beterbiev is currently ranked in the number 10 spot on the Ring IQ pound for pound list. If he wins and he completes the collection, becomes undisputed champion, he'll gain some ground. If he loses, Dmitry will bump him off, take his spot,
And he's there.
The beauty of this fight is that the answer to the question, who wins, Artur or Dmitry, the answer is not so obvious. You have to watch to find out. You have to see.
No matter how sure you are.
And that these two professionals, these two combatants, these two gladiators don't make a spectacle of themselves the way so many American fighters do.
Not overly brash or overconfident, which can be nauseating at times.
Will admit that because neither man is much for mincing words, the build-up between them, the press conferences, even the sit-down with Big Daddy Buns, didn't leave much to the imagination, and they themselves didn't say much, but because you know how these guys are, you know they take each other seriously, and they'll do their talking in the ring.
Where they're supposed to.
Because how many American fighters do you see talk a whole bunch of shit in the build-up of the fight just to spend it on the good foot, circling away from the guy they claimed they were gonna beat up?
That ain't fighting, that's freeze tag.
These are serious operators, quality operators, and they don't gotta make fools of themselves to sell a fight.
I love it.